Right, hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. This is the Rewatch. I'm joined by Will Dalton and Gary Spain, and we are going to be watching Republic of Ireland's 1-1 draw with Germany from the 2002 World Cup. For legal reasons, we cannot show the game, but we will be taking your questions and join in with us. We obviously, as I said, can't show the game, so that's out of our hands. So let's get the ball rolling on the match. There's a comment for you already, Gary. Right, lads, when you're ready, let me know and we'll all press play.
Okay, 1 second. We bring it back to the start. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Three. Gary, are you ready there to press play?
I'm ready.
Right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Lovely. Alright, there's the teams lining up now.
It's the national anthem.
Someone asked you there, Gary, what are your memories of the tournament? The two other lads, were you there too, or where did you watch it? I'll let you go first, Gary.
Yeah, well, I was there. Yeah, I was there for all our games. I arrived the day before the Cameroon game, and I left after the Spain game, having made plans and all to stay on for a quarter final. So yeah, it was an amazing time. It was Japan and Korea. They were fantastic hosts, and I think everyone that went there had a really amazing time. It was a great tournament from a football perspective. We did really well, having, I suppose, gone with low expectations. But yeah, amazing. And I can't believe it's 18 years ago.
And Will, what about yourself?
I was about 500 yards away in my local pub because I think this match took place about 10 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock. It was early, I remember that. I can't remember exactly the time. But I remember being down with my granddad actually. And it was one of the last games we probably would have watched together as an Irish match for the Irish team. And it was absolutely rammed. Absolutely rammed. It was a really nice morning, I remember that. And the atmosphere was just the atmosphere that we all love for, those special moments when the team has been in a major championships.
Well, I think that as well, it's obviously a nice memory, or one of your last final memories with your granddad, of course. A great result. For me, I was actually in primary school and we wheeled out the TV and we were all watching it with our classmates. We won't go too far ahead and probably say towards the end what we were kind of getting up to as the kind of game went through. But just looking at our kind of team and the... What's that?
The lineups.
Yeah, we're just kind of looking at like our team in that World Cup. Obviously, Robbie Keane wasn't there, but still, you're looking around that team and there was quality in abundance, and obviously the German team. Gary, what was the general kind of consensus over in Japan at the time?
So yeah, I mean, the whole Roy Keane thing, I was still here for that, still at home. So I think that dominated everything, the conversation before we left and even when we arrived. And I think then, I suppose the Cameroon game, if anything, put an end to that. It was a great result. I mean, we started badly in the first 45 minutes against Cameroon. We went in 1 down, came out in the second half, were much the better side, deserved at least a point, could have won it, hit the post near the end. So I think then, okay, Jason McAteer was out with injury, so there was a bit of a change with Steve Finnan right back and Gary Kelly, I think, playing in front of him. We had a lot of quality players with Damien Duff and Robbie Keane, which were a very dynamic front duo at the time. And obviously... not the biggest men, so we passed the ball a lot. There was a lot of movement. So yeah. Germany was a bit of a funny one because they weren't. I know they went on to reach the final, but we weren't as kind of scared as Germany as you would be normally. They had a bad World Cup in '98. They were beat by Croatia 3-0. They went to Euro 2000 and I think they finished bottom of the group. They were knocked out in the group stages, lost to England and everything. They were beaten 5-1 by England a year earlier in qualifying. So even though they'd hammered Saudi 8-0 in the first game, we were quite confident that we could get something out of the game.
Yeah, Will, what was your thoughts? Because you would have been at an age where you could have probably appreciated it. As I said, I was only in primary school, only a
Yeah.
kid, so I was kind of. I remember a lot of those players from playing with the with Bayern or that Leverkusen team that got to the final play against Real Madrid. So I remember them for that. But you would have appreciated, I suppose, that Ireland team a lot more than say people my age or younger.
Yeah, well, I was 19, so like, back then football was my life, really. Still is to a point, but like if you look at the German side to start with, a very kind of almost workman-like German side. That Leverkusen side wasn't full of, amazing star quality. They were a very good side. And even if you look at the German team in comparison to the Irish team, if you're looking for world-class players, and when you tend to look at the German side, you tend to do that, and there's plenty of options. There wasn't a huge amount in that team. Michael Ballack, yes. Miroslav Klose, yes. Didi Hamann, maybe. Oliver Kahn. Apart from that, is there anybody else that you'd really, Karsten Janker up front was one of the most incredible choices by Rudi Voller up front. And then you look at the Irish side, we're talking about Duff and we're talking about Keane. They were world class. They were in the prime of their careers at that time. And you kind of wonder what the Germans thought of having to face those two, coming off pretty good seasons. And then the rest of the Irish side, as you said, Gary, like it was a good team.
Shea Given was at the peak of his power at the time. I mean,
Happy birthday, Shay.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Breen had an amazing World Cup. He was simply out of this world for that tournament. Maybe not the star he was before or since, but he was just out of this world. Stephen Staunton playing in his third World Cup. Again, he had a great tournament as well. Coming towards the end of his days, we had Matty Holland and Mark Kinsella. I mean, it was going to be one of them to partner Roy Keane, but they actually formed a very good partnership themselves in central midfield. And we always had a lot of good wide players. We produced a lot of full backs. So, I mean, Steve Finnan was a real quality player and probably someone, he's disappeared off the radar once he retired, but top class full back. I mean, playing with Liverpool, etc. He was...
and not a bad replacement for Jason. Do you know what I mean? It actually probably did us quite well because that right-hand side was very, very tight and wouldn't give much away. But, Steve and Gary going forward did pretty well as a partnership together.
Do you not think that kind of would be reminiscent of maybe Seamus Coleman and Matt Doherty? Like, if you look at the fact that they could be put in there, the fact that Seamus and Matt for some reason can't be. And I have to say, in this game particularly, I thought Ian Hart was quite poor. A left back, you'd think he would have done better, but I don't know. What was your take on kind of him in that World Cup? I know he missed that penalty against Spain as well.
I mean, I think Ian Hart was always a favourite of Mick McCarthy's. I mean, he actually persisted at first in playing him as a centre-back, which I don't think he was. Yeah. So he made the left-back position his own. He had a sweet left foot. He was very good going forward, and he was very good at set plays. So free kicks, corners, he had great delivery. But defensively, he was suspect, and there's no question of that. And he was at fault for a number of goals in that tournament. Sorry, a couple of goals anyway in that tournament. He also missed the penalty against Spain. So, yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a curate's egg. But having said that, there wasn't an obvious candidate to say they should be playing left back. Maybe you move Steve Finnan or Gary Kelly over. I don't know. But
do a Dennis Irwin.
Yeah, but I mean, Dennis Irwin was able to play equally well on both sides.
I think though with Ian, kind of not to stand up for him, but I think the technical ability he did bring to the side from the frees, from the corner kicks, and his range of passing. I'm not saying you can't overlook that, but it brought a different dimension to the side. And sometimes with players, you have to go, right, well, like with Ian, his speed was always a problem. He was never the quickest player, and I'm sure he'd be one of the first to admit that. But then, again, it depends on who you play in front of him. And if you have somebody in front of him, like Kilban, who was a real, Kilban could get up and down a pitch all day long. So you kind of go, right, well, that'll compensate there. and that'll allow us to then have, Ian from free kicks who'll put it on a sixpence for Robbie Keane or Damien Duff or whatever. So, it could be a bit sometimes hot and cold, but I always enjoyed watching Ian Hart play. And I thought if he had legs, sprinter's legs, what a player you would have been, Roberto Carlos,
Yeah, no, he had a lovely left foot. I mean, he was deadly from free kicks as well and scored quite a few for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, see, Conor McDonald asks, who was the standout players in the squad for the 2002 World Cup in your opinions? I'll let the two of you go ahead. We'll probably all be in agreement either way, but I'll let you kind of go. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead there.
Okay,
Gary, you there, so go on.
Yeah, for me, Robbie Keane. So first of all, Robbie got 3 goals in the tournament, and he had a fantastic tournament. Damien Duff, equally so. Damien Duff was brilliant as well. And as I was even saying already, the two of them up front were a real handful for defenders. And I suppose it's not too often we played without a big man, but they were so mobile. They had so much ability and brilliant finishing as well. So they made a big difference for us up front. Shea Given in goal, again, at the peak of his powers, top keeper. So I know some of our younger people may not remember Shea at his best.
Well done, Gary Breen.
And Gary Breen had a fantastic tournament. I mean...
Sorry, he was doing an interception there. That's the only reason I said that. It was brilliant.
Yeah, he had a superb tournament. He played out of his skin. I think we're probably all surprised, but he was brilliant. Steve Staunton. Steve was coming to the end of his days, moved into centre back, and he was man of the match in this game against Germany, and he had a great tournament as well. So they're probably the standouts for me.
Well,
yeah, I think just off the back of Steve Staunton, and I think Steve gets a bit of a tough time because of how his managerial reign went, and I don't think he was probably the best choice for that. But there was no doubt in him as a player. He served Ireland incredibly well, and people forget as well he was the captain. He took over from Roy and had to lead this side.
Yeah.
In what could have been a tricky situation if there was maybe 1 or 2 players who felt Roy should have been there, and so again led by example, and he had a great game against the Germans.
Lads, you see that by Robbie Keane there.
But yeah, look, you can't go far wrong with Robbie and Damien. They were pretty much just incredible in that. And I suppose the tournament came at the right time for them. The two of them were playing very well.
Did Duff get the move off the back of that to Chelsea, or was that the next season?
That would have been, I think it was 2003. But certainly would have helped. And who else? Let me just have a look down to the team as well. Yeah, Matt, great goal against Cameroon. And then obviously, I said Kevin Kilban did quite a job for us, I thought, as well. Don't forget Niall Quinn coming off the bench for his swan song.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you can't go far wrong with Robbie and Damien. I think overall the two of them, and then Shea Given to me was always a player who was a standout goalkeeper who I would have loved to have seen at a bigger club of Man United. I was going to say Liverpool, but not back in those days. But do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
consistent Champions League football. I thought he was well suited to a big.
Well, he was class at Newcastle, wasn't he? Like he was in the top 5 keepers for at least 5, 6, 7 seasons.
Oh yeah, completely an outstanding goalkeeper. If you look up on YouTube, we don't want you to go away from this video, but some of his top saves in the Newcastle shirt were just incredible. And again for Ireland, nobody could get near him. There was no goalkeeper that we had. We had very good backups. Like Dean Kiley was on the bench for this game. Really good player, did very well in the Premier League for Charlton. But Shea was level above him.
And that's not really a disrespect to Dean Kiley. He was really a really good Premier League goalkeeper as well. So Shea was.
Yeah, he didn't get much of a chance, but he was a super keeper.
Oh yeah, completely. And proved it in this World Cup as well. And I think overall, then you look at the spine of the sides. It's always a good way to have a look at a team, and we had plenty of experience there. Matt and Mark, Gary, you said as well. They formed quite a good, solid partnership. They seemed to know each other very well, I thought. And again, I'm sure the two of them would have went out into the pitch kind of going, right, nobody expected the two of us to play. Everybody's going to be having a pop at us going, we're not Roy Keane, etc. And I think they did a commendable job.
Yeah, and they ended up playing together at Charlton then not long after that as well. Nice mug, by the way, there, Will.
What mug?
Hey. Well,
where can you get these?
Harvey Norman. But we'll have to get a new batch of them. But I can't really, I think in fairness, the whole squad were like, well, the start 11 in this game and then a couple of subs off the back of it. I think you can't really single out one player because they all individually had really good World Cups. Like you can't say maybe Hart was a little bit not as good.
See there, Carson Yanker going through and Gary Breen just popping him off the ball like he was, some lower league striker, the Bayern Munich striker front.
Well, he hadn't scored a goal or something that season. He had a very poor season for Bayern, Yanker. Yeah. I think he was as shocked to be in the squad.
He was an awkward striker. And I don't really know why Rudi Völler ever thought he was going to be the man. Like, was he a foil for Klose? Not really. I think he was short after this game.
The thinking that he was going to be the big man and he was going to be awkward for defensive or something. But yeah, it was a strange choice. I mean, Klose was the eighth goal poacher. I mean, that's what he was. I wouldn't rate him. I know he broke World Cup records for goal scoring and everything, but I wouldn't rate him in the top echelon of strikers. But he was a fantastic finisher.
Loads of goal in the World Cup.
And that was the thing. Sorry, was that Klose you were talking about, sir?
Yeah.
He did love a goal in the World Cup, and his career was kind of blossomed a bit late. Where was it? Was he still at Leverkusen at this stage? No. Where was he else? Kaiserslautern, I think.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
And I don't think he moved to Bayern until later in his career. Bit like kind of one of those players who kind of learns from the game as he gets a bit older, kind of uses his brain more than his kind of physicality. And but like he served Germany well. Certainly not up there with their top. But they were going through that weird period as well because Oliver Bierhoff was on the bench. He was quality striker, but I think he was around 34 at this stage. So he was kind of, a little bit maybe past his prime. But they were still expected to beat Ireland. There was no question about that,
Yeah, Bertie Vogts there came up on the screen.
Yeah.
He was the Scotland manager at the time.
Former Scotland manager, remember that?
Was this not a lot of these players? Am I wrong in saying this? But they were. Oh, that was nearly a pen in there.
Oh, he goes over and has a word.
Well, he let him know there, didn't he?
That was blatant.
Look again. Here's the replay.
Oh, those Adidas Predators.
I tell you, boys,
that could have been given. VAR, that could have been given.
He put his leg in and he forced he was manufacturing that.
Klose knew exactly what he was doing there. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Actually, the referee, just a shout out, we were a bit lucky as well. The referee was Kim Nielsen that day. He's probably more famous for sending off David Beckham in the previous World Cup, but he was at the time one of the top referees, and also for the Spain game. We ended up with Anders Frisk, another top referee.
Anders Frisk, remember him?
He got involved in controversy afterwards in the Champions League, but he was another top European referee. So I suppose you do get those at the World Cup when you're playing the top sides, but it does help.
Gary, can you move in a tiny bit?
No, to your side. Go the other way.
Yeah, there.
Yep, it's taken. Yeah,
there. Perfect. Okay. It's just more central now.
Talking about referees, there was a shot of who else in the crowd did we see?
Bertie Vogts was there.
Most famous referee of all time.
Don't talk to me about him.
Oh, Kalina.
Yeah, cheater.
I love of course was he Everton Villarreal?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I didn't realise that.
I have to say, we'll have to move on to Christian Ziga's haircut at some stage. It's
Yeah,
flat.
well, before we do, XXXX asked, lads, could you pick your best home and away memories of games you were at, excluding tournaments? Well, I would have only really been to the Wales away where we got B4-1, the Nations League. But that was a bit of crack, but the result obviously wasn't good. But I've been to so many home games that it's hard to kind of pick it. The best one probably is Holland 2002 or 2001. McAteer's goal. I was a ball boy for that game, so it was kind of special in that sense.
You
And
were
obviously, it
what?
was a massive. I was ball boy for that game.
Were you?
Yeah.
That's something you can't
Me,
remember.
me and my brother.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was
Brilliant.
class. Well, what would be your best, I suppose, home and away games? Gary, you've been everywhere.
Okay, well, I've been going a long time as well. My first game was Switzerland 75, and I can remember some fantastic wins over France back in the day. The great win over Holland, as you mentioned, at Shane Long against Germany. I'm actually going to go for the win over Spain in 1989 because it set us on the way. We hadn't started the campaign very well. We had a couple of draws, scoreless draws, and a defeat in Spain. And I think it was a must win. And we beat them 1-0. And Lansdowne Road was absolutely rocking. And it was
goal
a
that
good
day,
win to qualify.
Ah,
Oh, no.
1-0 Germany. Miroslav Klose. What a ball by Ballack.
What a somersault.
And Ian Hart was didn't track the run of Close.
That's correct. But like I have to say, you can say whatever, he wasn't in the top strikers now, but he was deadly. You gave him a chance in a World Cup, he would score close. He was class.
He was a great finisher. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he wasn't a
There's
class
hearts
player.
there, yeah.
Ballack was class, actually. He was world class. He was probably the best player on that side.
Oh, he was.
Oh, he was class.
For a small man, Klose got a lot of goals with his head as well. So it was positioning, it was intelligence, and that was a great one.
What a ball that was, though.
I think as well, though, Germany knew to play to those strengths with him. And the game plan was pretty much all around him because they were kind of stuck for other players to look to. You look down through that squad, there's no massive standout names. Ballack, Can, as we said, Klose, pretty much are the ones that you kind of go, well, Ballack was world class. That's what I played a few times. Absolute leader, commander, and Klose. It's funny, like what we were saying as well. You will get players who just all of a sudden come to life at a World Cup, and then they'll have a big club move afterwards. Doesn't really work out. We look at, 1990, the famous name, Salvatore Schillaci. Absolutely incredible World Cup. Never really did anything huge on the club stage to that level.
Milan Baros as well in the Euros, wasn't it, for Czech Republic?
Milan Baros, yeah, good shout.
I think he was already at Liverpool at that stage, but it's just the kind of name that springs to mind of having a good World Cup and never really capitalising off the back of it, really.
Yeah. There's been plenty of players whose I'm sure agents have been absolutely delighted with that. Right here's Damien Duff.
Oh, Can in that World Cup, lads, was unbelievable.
He was. In that game, even he was unbelievable as well.
Class.
He was absolutely. He's
one of those keepers you'd hate to face in a penalty
100%.
shootout.
Oh,
He would just completely put the jitters up you. But my best home game would have been that Dutch game. That was possibly the most I think the most incredible game I've ever been at. Being in the East Stand and Lansdowne Road, getting 2 tickets with my mother, who's pointing at herself, going, "Yeah, mention me."
Go on, Mrs. Dalton.
Hi, lads.
Hey!
How do you think you got into football?
Anyway, so when you look at that day, that moment of Steve Finnan putting that ball across to Jason McAteer, it was slow motion, and I've never been in Lansdowne Road where the stadium was moved. On that day, it just, it almost looked like it was physically rocking. And then the other moment from that game as well was when I remember at one stage the Dutch had Van Nistelrooy, Kluivert, Van Hooijdonk, and Hasselbank on the pitch at the same time. And there was one bit, who was it who went through and was one-on-one with the keeper, with Shay Given, and he slipped it to one side. From where we were in the East Stand, it had looked like he'd slipped it just past him enough that I was going to roll in. And the ball was just rolling, and it seemed to roll forever, and everybody was like, no. And it just went the side of the post. But, you face those 4 strikers, they can't score, you deserve to go to a World Cup. Although it was a pity the Dutch team weren't at that World Cup. They would have been great.
Yeah, I actually think Van Gaal made a big mistake that day. It was Van Gaal, wasn't it? But he took off, the two wingers were actually destroying us. And he took off the 2 wingers and put on 2 central strikers. And I think after about an hour or so, I thought we were finished. Gary Kelly sent off, etc. And I think they made a mistake. They put the 4 central strikers on, all top players, but sometimes you just put too many strikers at the same time.
No balance. You haven't got balance on the side, no matter who you are. Do you know what I mean? The strikers are going to be standing in the box going, who's putting the balls in for us? Or who's supplying us? You need that mix. And he got it very wrong that day and ultimately paid for it, didn't he?
Yeah.
You see Mark Kinsella letting that German lad know all about his diving there. Do you know what about this team though is, every time someone's on the ball, someone's always straight on them and closing it down. It's so far anyway in this game, it's been a lot of just closing down, win the ball back, and trying to get balls in behind. And people talk a lot about long ball this and long ball that, and he just does it as I say it.
Jack Charlton would be proud of that.
But I think we obviously we're trying to get the ball in the box there, but I did think we were building a lot more in terms of getting forward in that sense. It wasn't so much as just pump and run. There was a bit more strategy to it, I think.
Yeah, well, we'd no choice, Paul, because we Robbie Keane and Damien Duff up front. So a long ball up to the 2 of them was just a waste of time. So we had to actually pass the ball. We had to play it through midfield, and we did. I mean, I don't think that was an actually great game of football, but we played really good football in that World Cup. I mean, we kept the ball, we passed the ball, we tried to break teams down.
But when you look at it as well, Gary, we had the players.
Oh, Holland! Oh.
That was almost a carbon copy of Cameroon.
Yeah.
Those 2 in the centre, they were good ball playing midfielders with Premier League quality. And as you said, if you go long, you're kind of taking Damien Duff out of the game. You want to give the ball to him so we can run at players, Robbie to peel off and make runs. And that's pretty much, I think what we did. Again, with somebody like Hart, a fairly technical player, a good passer of the ball. So there was players there that you could kind of use that game instead of, we'd moved on from, the Charlton era of when we were maybe just a bit more direct, shall we say, to put it in a nice way.
And having said that, Will, I do appreciate the goal came from very much Route 1 and very much the old style Irish game. Before someone jumps in the comments and the goal up to Niall Quinn, but even if you take the Saudi Arabia game, we just play them off the park. We totally opened them up. Duff and Keane were unplayable that day. We played so well against Spain. I know it went wrong in the penalty shootout, but God, you're losing to Spain in penalties in a World Cup and you've gone out devastated. I mean, that's the level, the quality we were at the time. Yeah. And I mean, we were with lovely passing move again there.
I just kind of seen a flash to the bench there with Mick in his shorts and stuff like that, and he's sitting beside Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh, I only bumped into him yesterday. He used to, I think he was the kit man, or he was something.
Yeah, he was the kit man at the time. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, I was only walking past him yesterday. He's always got his, whatever club his Mick is at, he always has their gear on. He'd be a good mate of his, do you know what I mean? But it's just funny when you see these people after, bumping into them on a walk yesterday,
It'll be interesting to see where Mick ends up next.
Yeah, well, I wonder, I'd say somewhere in the Championship. I don't see him getting anything higher at the moment.
But I think he'd be a good man. He would be a great man to do a job for a Championship club. He has a proven track record there, and if someone's looking for a manager, you can't go far wrong with Mick.
No. And I think if he has a bit of a budget as well, I think a lot of the clubs he's been at now in the last over the past few years, you look at Ipswich, 0 budget. Sunderland, when he went there, very little budget. Wolves, again, I don't think they had a huge budget. I see Mick giving a little bit of money, and I think if there was one of those sides who were pushing, who were going to start the season with a budget and pushing to try and get into the Premier League, you wouldn't go wrong having a few quid on Mick to get them up, because you can see the spirit of whatever he brought back to the Irish side after Martin, and
he'll make any team very hard to beat as well. I mean, you wouldn't fancy coming up against Mick McCarthy's side.
No.
I think that's something people forget is the record. Even in the campaign just gone, with as good a defensive record as anyone, really.
Yeah, we only lost one game.
Yeah,
exactly.
But see, Jonathan Foley there said he's currently writing a screenplay based on that World Cup. Latest draft should be completed soon. So best of luck, Jonathan. Hope that all goes well. There hasn't been too many comments. There's still usually about 10, 12 people watching. But leave your comments, guys. If you don't know, we are watching the Germany game from the 2002 World Cup.
Just
offside again.
What's that, Gar?
Just a comment on the squad there, and we're talking about the quality players that we had. I'm just looking at the players that were on the bench in that World Cup, and you had the likes of Dean Kiley and Alan Kelly in goal. You had Kenny Cunningham, a really top player. Richard Dunn was in the squad there, but didn't make the first team. Andy O'Brien, another. Jason McAteer got injured. He did start against Cameroon. Lee Carter.
Sorry, I was just going to say all Premier League players.
Yeah. Niall Quinn, Clinton Morrison, and a crucial player that very unfortunate with injury was Stephen Reid, who I think would have been a top player for us.
That's class,
if he'd been able to stay fit. I mean, he came off the bench in a couple of games in that World Cup, and he made a real difference as well, a real quality performer.
I really liked him when I was growing up. I always thought I rated him very highly, and he was very fond of a thunderbolt finish, wasn't he?
He was. Looking at the German bench there on the screen, so they went down at good old Jens Lehmann there, sitting with his legs crossed, his arms crossed, not looking impressed. As his best man, Can was in this.
But no, Can was a better keeper for me, always, anyway. Yeah.
But you forget, Lehmann played for that Invincibles team and was a key part of their team. Nobody liked messing around with Lehmann, to be fair to him, or Can. But I suppose, again, it goes down to the quality. And you talk about Shay Given and Dean Kiley. I mean, there's the bench there. You have to see Dunn, Morrison, Carsley, McAteer, O'Brien. Is that David Connolly?
Yeah.
Dean Connolly, Alec Kelly.
Niall, Stephen Reid.
Kenny Cunningham, yeah.
Yeah, but with Lehmann, like I said with Coy, I just think maybe Cam was a level above, and I think that showed in this World Cup.
And I'm just looking, just to go back over stuff. We obviously never called up a replacement for Roy Keane, did we? Because we're one short on the bench.
We did actually. We called up Colin Healy, but he wasn't allowed. We were too late, so he wasn't allowed. He wasn't allowed to join the squad.
Colin Healy, another player suffered a very bad injury.
Yeah,
he's big at Cork City and Sunderland, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think wasn't that Sunderland. He destroyed his leg, I think.
I'm not sure what club it was at, but
for a long time.
I watched. Was it him? There was a video. I think Gavin Houlihan put up a video on social media there. Where he hit a ball at Colin Healy and he nearly took the head off him. He kicked the ball at him when it was a foul or something, but he didn't mean to, and he just said, "Oh, I shit myself." When he got up, and then one of his actual players punched the ball and hit Colin Healy as well.
Nice. Do you know what would be actually interesting if we could try and find some? Would be the stats from the game to see what the sort of percentage possession we had in this game.
I have a look on the phone here.
I actually have them. We had 58% possession in that game. 58.
Statman Gaz.
Yeah.
You have to say, when you look back at that in the World Cup, you don't expect Ireland to have 58% possession against the Germans. You just don't.
Yeah.
30% you'd be kind of going, well, we're hanging in there. But 58. Yeah. And again, that just shows the point we were saying earlier.
We actually dominated for much of the game. After we went a goal down, we had most of the possession, we had most of the chances. And we go back and talk about Oliver Kahn. He was a top keeper. He had a great night that night. Okay, he got beaten right at the end. I don't want to spoil the ending for anyone in case you don't know. But even for Robbie's equalizer, he still got a hand to it.
Yeah.
And he had a superb game. He probably was the man of the match that night. I know we'd like to take it for an Irish player, but he was.
But only Keane and Ronaldo scored on him the whole World Cup.
So
that shows it, doesn't it?
So,
and I mean, they got to the final. They lost to Brazil in the final.
Yeah, 2 Ronaldo goals.
Yeah.
And did Rival, was it 2-0 that game? Or was it more?
Oh, well, I don't think it was more. I think it might have been 2-0. I can't remember for sure now. I was home and watching it on TV, but I don't. Oh.
What's this?
Final was.
I think it was 2-0. Yeah.
Yes, it was 2-0.
Someone's saying there's rumours linking me to News Talk. This is the first I've heard about it. No, I'll put them rumours to bed right now. That's not the case.
Oh Lord!
But thanks for the compliment. XXXX. I'd love to know your actual name.
Hold on.
What's that?
Ronaldo got 1. Just going through the highlights here.
I think it was 2-0.
It was 2-0, but did he get both?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, Rivaldo, what a player.
Rivaldo hits it, kind of bounces off the surface.
Kahn spilled it from a Rivaldo shot.
Yeah, you got the rebound, yeah.
And then second one, he slots past him after a nice dummy by Rivaldo. Not bad. Unfortunately, he had the worst haircut of all time.
But people are still copying it to this day, so it was actually fairly iconic.
What, are you thinking about it, are you?
No, I wouldn't do it, but there's been a lot of people that have done it online. Well, and you wanted to speak about Ziga's
haircut.
Yeah, so go on. That was worse.
I think the razor just ran out.
Yeah, he was at Tottenham at the time, wasn't he, Ziga?
Some left foot.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He was a nice player.
So
again, a lovely passing move there.
What's wrong, Will?
Lovely passing move there. Duff sets up Kilban, good cross, and Kahn comes out and makes a good save.
I can't stress how good Oliver Kahn was. Like, I tell you the truth, lads, I actually watched this back the other day when I got it because I just couldn't hold back, and he was just unbelievable the whole game.
Gary, have you watched this since?
Not really, no. I watched, when I came back, I kind of skipped through some of the highlights, but I haven't actually watched the full game. So this will be my first time sitting down and watching the full game. I've watched bits of it. And,
we could be on Gary Watch.
So,
Gary, you could be in the crowd here, and there could be a cutaway now shortly.
I don't think I came up on the screen at that one anyway. Not that I can remember. So.
Were you gargled?
No, a
few Asakis.
Even afterwards, I wasn't, because Ibaraki, actually, it's only about 99 kilometers from Tokyo, but it's an absolute nightmare, or it was in those days, nightmare to get to. We actually needed 3 trains. And I always watch games sober, actually. I just don't drink till afterwards. But the game was late at night over there and didn't finish, and we didn't get out of the stadium for another half an hour, 40 minutes after the final whistle, just celebrating. And we didn't manage to get back till about 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, and then found a pub that was open. And they did.
Were you after that? Did you go home? Did you go home after that, or did you stay on?
Oh no, I stayed on. So I just got back to Tokyo. But instead of going back to the hotel, we just found a bar that was actually open, and we were staying near Ueno train station at the time, and there was a bar that we'd actually found. It was actually an English bar, but we had taken it over for the World Cup, and they were showing all the games. So when we got back, they actually put the game on the big screen. So I suppose starting drinking at 6 a.m., watching the game, but it was on, so I don't remember too much about it. But
Not very Irish of you.
it was some night. Another thing actually to mention about that game was it was probably the start, well, maybe the end as well, but a very good relationship with the English fans. We ended up in Japan, and there hadn't been good situations in Euro 88 and Italia 90. But about 1,000 England fans actually made the trip to Ibaraki for this game, and they were all supporting us. You can actually see some St. George's crosses in the crowd when they pan on it, and there were actually loads there, and they were all supporting us as well. And we did end up parking together a bit in various bars as well. So
It's nice to hear. That's good to hear.
yeah, I don't know if it extended to too many Irish fans cheering England on at the World Cup, but they cheered us on against Germany.
I think that seems to be a thing. Like I was in Thailand for the Euros 2016, and I was there with a lot of English lads. Like, you're just gonna get talking to them at the pool parties and so on. We all met up that night or whatever, and they were wishing Ireland well. Do you know what I mean? Throughout the Euros, so one of them, his mum was from Derry as well, so he had that Irish connection anyway. But they were all cheered. They all wanted Ireland to do well. So it was a nice kind of atmosphere to be around when they actually won. But then there was the usual kind of how would I put it? The fellas who can't handle their drink, who come in and start getting rowdy with everybody else. So at that point we just kind of, I think England played Wales that time. But when Ireland were playing, it was a great atmosphere, and everybody just got on. And I think that's a big thing with Ireland, that at tournaments, no matter where you are in the world, like I'm saying there, I was in Thailand. Gary, I'm sure you were in France. Will, I'm not sure where you would have been, but I'm sure we'd have been in all different parts of the world. But when you're watching Ireland playing, it's never like an aggressive affair. It's always a real kind of come together and a feel good moment, I think.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I think whatever tournament we went to, and I've been lucky enough to be in at all of them, we've had a fantastic relationship with France. I think we were awarded the Paris medal. In Poland, I know they absolutely love the Irish fans. Going right back, Japan, there were so many Japanese followed us over to Korea, which is quite a journey, actually. Those countries are quite far apart. We went overland, and boats and ferries. It took a long time, more than a day, I think, from what I can remember. Loads of Japanese, they fell in love with Ireland as well. Going back to America, obviously, and so much Irish Americans, and Italy, Germany, again, they took us to our hearts. And yeah, so the Irish crowd at these tournaments has always been a feel-good factor, and they've been a joy to attend.
The where was it, the Ireland game? I ended up going to getting tickets for that Euros you were talking about, Paul. I think it was for the quarterfinals, and
France
got 2 tickets. Yeah, thinking it could be Ireland against England. It ended up being France against Iceland. But had the most amazing night with half the population of Iceland in some sort of suburb, not suburb, but some part of Paris. I've no idea where it was. It wasn't anywhere near the stadium. But again, we went around to bars with them. They were absolutely amazing bunch. But going into the pub, I remember going into the pub and asked for a pint about 5 o'clock in the morning. And the barman said to me, the pub was packed with fans, not Irish fans, just French fans, Icelandic fans. Where are you from? And I said, I'm from Ireland. And he just turned the music off and he said, stop, the Irish are here. And everybody went away. So that just kind of sums it up, But yeah, some great moments. But I also went to the Ireland-England match at Wembley a few years back, which I think was the first time they played each other.
Shane Long scored that game, was it?
Yeah, it was a great goal, the 1-1 draw.
It was 1-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, my two mates were at that, yeah.
But I remember going to that, myself and an Irish mate both living over there, and we were a bit nervous about going. Now, I've never been nervous going to a match before in my life, but it was just a little bit, there was a lot of reports about the game and all this sort of stuff. Gary, would I be right in saying that was one of the first times after 95 they played a...
Yeah, so that actually was the first time we'd met since the 95 game.
Yeah, so it was the atmosphere. It's completely different. It was so family orientated. There was one section where the Irish fans were and the English fans were beside us. Before the game, there was these songs going on that I can't remember the song, but they would sing a bit, and we'd sing a bit, and they'd sing a bit, and it was great. It was lovely to see, kind of, you know.
I was laughing going up Wembley Way for that game because they were actually selling half and half scarves. And I said, "What idiot actually decided to do half and half scarves?" And then the joke was on me because I came in and actually my cousin, she's married, she's 4 kids over in England, and I actually got them tickets and all for the game, and they were all wearing. Her husband is English, and their kids are maybe going back to your example. They're like your cousin Will. Anyway, so they were wearing them, and loads of people were actually wearing the half and half scarves, and I thought, well, I don't know.
That's a big thing, though. Like, even if it's Southampton against I don't know, Wigan, you'll get a half and half scarf for the game, which I always wonder those guys selling them, and at the end of the game they're always down to like $2.50 or £3. It's like, what do they do with them? Because they're always dated as well. It's not as if it's like, right, we'll wait till next season or the next time they play.
They obviously make enough money out of them, and you do see people buying them. And I can kind of, someone going to Southampton, Wigan, yeah, that's okay. I mean, but something like when we play England, or if you take something like Manchester United, Liverpool, or Rangers and Celtic, I mean, do people buy half and half scarves for those games?
I don't know. Like, is that a tradition over there? Is that maybe might be wrong in saying that, but is that a very kind of English thing they just do in football games that's been there for years? I've definitely heard it spoken of. Do we do that here?
I don't think so. No, I think actually the English football fan would be very much against the half and half scarves. It's probably become something for the Premier League and a lot of the people, maybe the football tourists, etc., the people that go to 1 or 2 games and just want to go and see a Premier League game, and they get the scarf as a souvenir of a game in the old days.
Yeah, it's a nice memento if it's like your first Premier League game or your first FA Cup game or your first FA Cup final or something like that. You kind of go, maybe then that's fair.
If it was a European game, I might get like. I remember looking at a couple of scarves sometimes when Everton were playing in Europe, and I was thinking, I might get something there, but I never did. But when you think about European things, especially now, you probably back then take it for granted, especially being an Everton fan. I'm not sure about you, Will. You're in Europe every year with Chelsea.
Used to it now.
But yeah, but that's what I mean, is that like you probably will get a half and half for like a European game, but not like say even international, but you would not get an Ireland England one, no way.
Yeah. I mean, Paul, I can understand like if Everton was to play Real Madrid or something like that, or Everton Barcelona, but I can't see you wearing an Everton Liverpool one, for example.
No, I didn't mean it like that. But even the Villarreal game, if I had went to that, I probably would have got a half and half for that. But that's because it's something that you can look back and go, what's that?
I said you might have burned it afterwards.
Yeah, I burned that poster at Kalina.
Oh, stuff. Right, we're almost at half time, aren't we now?
So what do you want to do for half time? Will we skip ahead?
You're the boss.
Yes, we may as well skip ahead, will we? Yes.
Yeah, we'll wait till half time comes up. It's only a minute. But what that Robbie Keane chance there, where he probably should have bicycle kicked it. But can you cast your mind back that far, Gary, in the stadium? What were people thinking at this point coming up to half time?
Yeah, so I mean, probably felt the goal had kind of been coming a little bit. We had been a little bit under the cosh, hadn't got our act together, but slowly we came back into the game and we started dominating. And coming up to half time, yeah, Robbie had a good chance. The ball just wouldn't come down for him. I think he took a touch off the defender and he was off balance and he just couldn't get his feet right for it. But we thought, we're right back in this game, and I think we felt in the second half we still had a great chance to push on and get at least a point.
Will, what were you thinking?
Nervous. Was thinking that Germany hadn't really shown up, that they'd had a couple of half chances. Yanker had, I think, about 2 that you kind of go, a decent striker definitely would have tested even better. One which he kind of half lobbed over him. I think he was offside a few times. And you just kind of thinking, second half we're going to need to go for it a little bit more. But then, Gary and probably Steve Staunton at that stage weren't the quickest. And then Nadine Hart as well. So it's like just nerves, I think, with the whole. There was definitely an atmosphere. I remember where we were, and we're talking, there was probably maybe a good 100, 150 people in the pub. And it was on a big projection screen. We were just in the door, as in at the door. We couldn't get in any further. It was that packed. I remember there was this eerie air of tension about, right, only 45 minutes now left. We need to get something from this game. Because we knew, I think Cameroon played later on that evening against Saudi Arabia. Right, that's 3 points in the bag for them.
Actually played Cameroon. I actually was at that match as well because they played the following day.
Followed it, yeah.
So we were waiting for that the next day. So I think this result was going to define a lot on how the group was going to pan out.
Did you go back to the pub and then back out to the other game?
Yeah. So we didn't get back to the pub. I think it was about, my memory is about 5 a.m. or something like that. And I mean, the pubs were open, I think, whether they were allowed or not, they were open all the time there. And we had a few beers, watched the game again. The Cameroon-Saudi game was in, I think, Saitama or something, which was quite close to Tokyo. So it was on the kind of suburban train. So it was quite easy to get to. And I remember about that day because we got up pretty hungover and we had tickets for the game. And it probably was in doubt. Now, I mean, I would go to so many games. I went to 9 games of that World Cup, and I've gone to more than a lot of the other ones. We were hungover. It probably was, if I was going to miss one, but it mattered for us. So we got up, got on the train. And I remember going on the train out to the game, and I had the kind of a ticket holder around my neck to keep my ticket safe. And I was just wearing it, and because it was very safe in Japan, nobody would steal anything. You could leave your wallet out the seat, nobody would take it. And one of the persons on the train saw my ticket, started looking at it, trying to holding the ticket holder and saying, "Wow, you're so lucky going to a game," and I'm kind of thinking, we nearly gave this a miss because of the hangover and everything. And it's only Cameroon Saudi. It's probably the worst game, which probably was, that we ended up going.
You stayed awake for the entire game?
Sorry?
You stayed awake for the entire game?
Yeah, well, I was a bit younger then. But I was 35 then. I was,
He's only messing with you.
So, and probably had an early night. I can't remember what we did after that game, but I reckon it was just back to the hotel for an early night. There were 4 of us there actually for the tournament, and it was a funny one as well because the tickets were actually, it was easy enough to get tickets if you were outside Japan, but the Japanese, and it was very easy to get tickets in Korea, but the Japanese couldn't get tickets and they were desperate to go to games. So
did you stay on all the way till the Spain game?
Yeah, so I stayed on until, and we had to get over to Korea, and I stayed on for the Spain game, and I came home then once we were out.
Right, lads, just before we ask you more questions, can we get on the same, I had it on 1:03:01.
Okay.
Yeah,
where the referee is just standing there about to blow the whistle for the second half.
Yeah, the Germans are going to kick off, yeah.
Give me a sec. 1:03:01. Who was on the panel? Johnny Giles,
Dunphy,
and Jerry Francis.
I didn't look, I skipped through it.
Are we on the same thing?
1 sec, hold on.
Yeah.
Did you say 1:03:01?
Yeah. It should be the ref about to blow the whistle.
You can see Kim Morton Nielsen. Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to get exactly there.
Doesn't it, if it's, yeah, we can try and get all the kind of same.
It's a lower my TV down a bit. Second.
Do. On the ball has asked for a shout out, so he has a shout out on the ball. Lads, let me know when you're ready, Will, because I have to do a special play. So, you ready?
Yeah.
Count down from 3 there, will you?
3, 2, 1, play.
Lovely. So the official Republic of Ireland, lads, I'm starting to collect jerseys all over Europe, and do you know of anywhere I can get them on a good deal? Haha. eBay probably, or if you check out Irish Sports Memorabilia, I can't remember the last word of that group, but if you check it out on Facebook, they generally post a lot of jerseys and stuff in there. It depends on what you're kind of looking for, though. If you're looking for kind of just different types of jerseys, I'm not sure where to go. Probably what's the name of that pro soccer shop or something like that, UK soccer shop. That's usually good for jerseys and stuff like that, real ones as well. Have you got any suggestions, Gary?
Yeah, no, that Facebook page, the Irish Sports Memorabilia, is probably a good one. If the person is in Dublin, there's nothing on at the moment. Obviously, they have a jersey page, a jersey fair every 6 months or so, and it's advertised on that Facebook page. It's normally held in a pub in Phibsborough, whose name
The back
escapes
page,
me.
isn't it? The back page.
Back page, that's it. Yeah, exactly. And eBay as usual for anything like that. That's for kind of player-worn jerseys. If you're looking for replica shirts, I think Toffs and a few of the websites have them as well.
Pro Direct Soccer is usually good as well.
Okay.
Speaking about shirts, wasn't a fan of this kit.
I loved it.
It was a bit dead.
Yeah, I liked it.
I'm just turning the light on, lads. You just keep talking there.
It wasn't one of my favourites, but it was okay at the time. I certainly had
Comparison to 1994.
my favourite was actually Italian 90. I love the Italian 90 shirts.
Brilliant. Absolute classic.
Yeah.
There
was a Fresh Air by Karsten Janker there. I mean,
that just sums them up.
The great German strikers. He doesn't measure up.
He's useless.
So
he wouldn't lace Niall Quinn's boots.
No. Actually,
I think
Quinner is worth a shout though that you mentioned him, because he's actually the only man to have played in tournaments for us across 3 different decades. He finished the game in Stuttgart, and he was still got the vital flick on 14 years later in Ibaraki.
Stop giving away the game, will you?
Well,
I'm joking. The scoreline's in front of you there anyway. So. No, I think we might come on and talk. We might come on to talk about it. Sorry, when he does come on, of just how effective he can be. You remember the Spain game as well. He came on, won a penalty, and really got under Hierro's skin. And Hierro was playing at Real Madrid at the time, and he was one of the best defenders in the world at that point.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And thankfully, the ref gave them. I mean, he tried to change shorts with him. He had the shirt up. You could see Niall Quinn's chest, but often you actually don't get those penalties. But no, thankfully, it was Andy Chris. Yeah,
Gary, am I right in thinking I seem to recall something about there being a FIFA directive around that time for the referees to clamp down on specifically that? And I think it was almost like Spain were made an example of. There was something in my mind from the archives there.
I honestly don't remember it from that World Cup. I certainly, you're definitely correct in that there have been FIFA directives to clamp down on this short tugging and short pulling at corners and free kicks, etc. Possibly, I don't remember. I know. I mean, I was watching it. I was quite close to it, and I was absolutely screaming, he's got the shirt off his back. And he actually, but I still couldn't believe it when he actually gave the penalty. I was actually surprised it was given, even though obviously it's a nailed-on penalty, particularly as it was our second penalty in the game as well. So I think a lot of referees would balk at giving a second penalty, and particularly giving them against Spain. I mean, it does take a brave referee to give a penalty against a big team. And the likes of the Spains, the Italys, the Englands, the Germanys, the Frances, Brazil, Argentina. It's harder to get penalties against them in the big tournaments, and we got 2 in the same game against Spain. So
Do you think that was because you look at somebody like Anders Frisk, who was, remember Kim Nielsen obviously was a name, Anders Frisk was a name, Kalina was obviously a name. They're kind of refs who have a bit of a persona that they don't really give a damn who you are. Almost a little bit of an ego that he just didn't care, did he? He was like, no, in fairness, he called it right.
He did. He called it as he saw it, which is what you want. And I mean, you don't want a referee thinking, oh, if I give a penalty against Spain, if I give a second penalty against Spain, I'm going to be in big trouble. The media are going to go to town on me. I won't be able to go back and do Real Madrid in the Champions League next year or something like that. It's
fair play to him.
They won't be coming to Dublin in the group stages of the Champions League, unfortunately. So it's less of a problem to give a couple.
Now, come on.
Well,
you never know.
Best of luck to Dundalk.
Well, what I was going to say was a lot of people have been asking what game we're watching. I don't know if you can still see, but it says Ireland won, Germany won from the 2002 World Cup. Also, we got the games from at Killian M2 on Twitter. He was the one who actually digitized the games and sent them over. We're not legally not allowed to show the game, so we are reacting to the game, basically going back and living it again, which I actually think, just watching it back, I suppose you don't really appreciate it at the time. Now, I was 11 or 12, I can't remember. I was in 6th. I actually could have been. I think could have been. I was 11 when this game was on in primary school. So again, I was at that stage where I was just football mad. I could tell you everything about every player. That kind of phase you go through.
Yeah.
So I was kind of going through that, but I wouldn't what I would give to be able to have days like this now, to be able to go, out with the lads and enjoy how good of a team we actually were. You really do take it for granted. But at the same time, being 11, you can't really, there's not a whole lot you could do. I mean, we've never really reached the heights of kind of that again. I'm not talking about, 88, 94, we had a much better team. But that was the last time we were really a side that, teams feared, I think. I think not really after that we were really feared as much.
Yeah, I mean, it was our last World Cup as well. And I mean, it's been fantastic to get to the last 2 Euros, but the World Cup is the pinnacle in international football. I know you can have your arguments about the Champions League in the World Cup, but in international football, it's the World Cup you want to be at. And I'd love to see us at another World Cup. It's very tough to qualify now. There's only 13 places for European sides, and we will need a really good side to get there.
There's a really good question for you there, Gary. Conor McDonald asks, how long has Gary been supporting the Irish team and growing up? Who was his favourite player?
Okay, well, I'm happy to give away my age. My first, actually, Republic of Ireland senior game was the women's team against Wales in 1974 in Limerick. I saw the men for the first time in 75 against Switzerland, but I was 8 at the time. And I've been going since. My first away game was Holland 81. My favourite player growing up was probably Liam Brady. So he absolute class player, lovely left foot. Someone I also liked, I was actually very impressed with the German teams. The first World Cup I can remember watching was 1974. And everybody that I knew was supporting the Dutch. And Holland were absolutely, and looking back, Holland were magnificent. But I was 7 years of age and I thought the Germans were fantastic. And I thought Beckenbauer and Gerd Müller was a particular favourite of mine at the time as well. And I wished I could score goals like him.
Were you any use growing up as a footballer, Gary? Did you play much?
No, I was mainly a right back, and I could probably still play in these social distancing times because I didn't get within 2 meters of a lot of quick left wingers. And, I was tried up front a bit as well, and I think I scored more from right back than I did as centre forward. So it was, I played with a lot more enthusiasm than skill. I've always loved the game, but I was never at a level to. I was just schoolboy football or junior football player, but I was never any kind of level to make anywhere close to a representative side. Playing normally in the second tier of the Limerick Schoolboy League growing up, you know.
And Will, what about you? Can you beat that?
In what regard? Age-wise, no. Sorry, Gary. I can't. Like, my earliest Irish memory was Ray Houghton against England in Stuttgart. I was 5, and I remember the place going mental and wondering kind of what this was all about. And then that kind of went away. And then I remember us qualifying for the World Cup. There's kind of patches of games, and then the build-up. And then I would have been 7, and I would have just have started playing football. So, like, the whole thing with the World Cup was just absolutely crazy. I remember, like, getting the kit, and the kit used to come in a box. It was a long Adidas box. It's really weird. I don't know why it came in a box, but it was the entire kit, and everybody had one.
Oh, what a save. Sorry, Will.
Great chance for Robbie Keane and great save. Oh, Damien Duff, was it? Duff, sorry.
Great save.
Great save by Cant, and one of many.
Sorry, Will. You were saying about the full kit coming in the box.
Oh yeah, it was. That's how you bought it. I can't remember why, but like that kit got. I have the shirt upstairs somewhere still, and
if you find it at some point, put it up on Instagram. Tag us in it.
I will do. I'll have a look for it tomorrow. But there was all that, and like I specifically remember the build up to it. The build up was incredible, and there was everything from. Like, I remember there was this kind of magazine thing that came out every week called World Cup 90. And it was, you put it in a binder and there was different things every week. So they had a bit for all the teams. So that was the stickers part. So like we'd get our sticker albums. But then they also had like another chapter, which you'd get one page of every week, which was great goals. There's another chapter, which was great matches. There was great players from the World Cup. I remember studying that like it was homework and knew everything about every World Cup going, even, you know, back before Pele, back into the 20s and the 30s and whatever. So it was an incredible way to kind of get into it. And then obviously Ireland, the success we had. I remember the Ireland-England game. That was like, after that, it was just, there was no looking back. It was just an incredible roller coaster, and yeah, it was football was sold to me from then on. Really,
I suppose I might as well talk about my how I got into it. The '98 World Cup was when I started actually watching football, and my dad would be trying for so long to get me into it, but I just didn't take an interest in it until I actually sat down. And I know you touched earlier on the Dutch team, Gary, but for some reason I took a real shine to that Dutch team in the '98 World Cup. Do you remember Bergkamp scored that goal against Argentina? That World Cup, and just, I don't know what it was about the Dutch team, but I went out. My dad ended up buying me the away Dutch jersey from that World Cup, and it was from in that '98 World Cup as well. I remember Croatia were really, really good. They finished 3rd. And
they hammered Germany 3-0 actually in that World Cup.
Yeah, well, after obviously the World Cup, we played them, didn't we? I think it was was it a qualifier?
Yeah, the first game after the World Cup, they came to Lansdowne Road in the qualifiers for Euro 2000, and we beat them 2-0. It was Robbie Keane and Dennis Irwin, I'm pretty sure, scored.
Yeah, Dennis Irwin penalty, I think. That was my first game.
Okay, it was a great one to be at.
Yeah, but you know, and you spoke as well about earlier on about, you know, fans mixing. Where I remember, you know, Croatians coming in because you know my dad was there with all his friends, and I was there, me and my brother, and it was the first kind of Ireland game we'd been to together. We were on such a great buzz. Ireland won. But we were mixing with the Croatians, you know. I remember being like 8 years of age and saying hard luck to the Croatians, and they were just very graceful. Do you know what I mean? Because I was only a young, innocent kid, but I meant well in what I was saying. But they were really nice people as well. I think that kind of goes back to saying, I don't think there's many people that would have a bad word to say about Irish fans, whether it's home or away. you know, maybe unless you're an English fan, you know, say coming over to Ireland or us going over there. Other than that, I'd say most people speak very well about Ireland. But that was after that World Cup when I got into football, and then probably my hero growing up because well, Everton were very, very poor back then. I'd probably say Zidane, but that's because it was the '98 World Cup in France. You know, him and Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo. I just looked at them and I was like, wow, and that just got me into football from there. And then I ended up obviously going over to Goodison, and from that point onwards, then I was an Everton fan after that. You know, I had no real choice, but the the drug of going to see live football and seeing Ireland winning against a very good Croatia side, and obviously having watched them in the '98 World Cup, I knew exactly who everyone was in their team, and you know they had the likes of Davor Suker and these types of players who were just unreal. And he got the golden boot in that World Cup, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. Actually, you mentioned the Croatian fans, Paul. I was at that World Cup, and I was at Croatia-Romania, and it turned out to be a dreadful game. They beat them 1-0 in the round of 16 in Bordeaux. But my cousin was there as well, and we were short a ticket, and we were going around Bordeaux asking. We ended up getting one from the Romanian FA in the end. We were asking the Croatian fans if they had a spare ticket, and we met this group, and they were all in their 20s, all young men, and they said, "Where are you from?" We said Ireland and all that, and they kind of said Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland. They said Southern Ireland. They said, Catholic. And one of them takes off his shirt and shows his full chest is tattooed with the Sacred Heart. And to be honest, and then they started going on, and I mean, and I was thinking, hang on a second now. These guys had guns in their hands because this was just after the war, and in fact, the war in former Yugoslavia was still going on, and it was going on. It was going on a year later. Even when we played Macedonia, and we played Croatia and Yugoslavia as it was then. And I'm thinking, God, these guys are a bit scary, but they were absolutely great crack, and they did certainly seem to love the Irish, even though we weren't at that World Cup. But we were just there as neutrals.
Yeah, and this it goes back to like how many times do we hear it? You know, they get, as you said earlier, we get awards and stuff like that for when we do go travel to these tournaments. And I think people actually are genuinely upset when Ireland aren't at these tournaments, like not opposition fans.
Yeah, I think the fans are missed sometimes more than the team. But yeah, that's. But certainly not that team, actually. That team were actually good to watch in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the other tournaments we haven't been the best to watch.
What about this comment, lads? Mark, Paul and Tom FC. Must be three boys. What do you think is the best Ireland team ever? Are we going to go through it? We've done it before.
You've done it before, Paul. You can bring it up.
Well, are we talking about the best 11 individuals in a team or the best team at a certain time? We done that?
I suppose it's about balance, isn't it? If you want an actual good side, you need balance. You can't just shoehorn players in there for the sake of it, you know?
What I'm saying is, what is the best team that has actually played together?
Well, I would probably... I'm only old enough to appreciate this team, so I can only go by them. You usually have a better idea of the other teams, you know, at World Cups.
One that strikes me, and one that I remember being particularly good, and I would go back to Jack's time, is the team Jack put out when we won 1-0 at Hampden in February 1987. And I think it was Paul McGrath was at right full and Ronnie Whelan was at left full. And they would probably struggle to the end, but the likes of Mark Lawrenson was there, Liam Brady. That was a really good side. As an 11 that went out on the pitch together. Maybe even then moving on a little bit, yeah, the team that failed to qualify for Euro 92.
You'll say that the 91 team. Yeah.
91 team, yeah. The right team would come into the Jack side. And a lot of the top players were still, I mean, the likes of Lawrenson were gone, Brady were gone, but a lot of the top players were still there. So we had a really good side again there as well. They're the ones that kind of stick in my mind anyway.
That 91 side seemed to have gelled a bit, as in they were kind of moving in. You had the ball players, the likes of McGrath, who come in along with the old school. We had strikers. It always seemed to be a bit of a problem that we'd have too many defenders and not enough strikers. Nobody to score goals. And then it came the opposite way. We had Robbie, obviously, for so many years, who could score so many goals. We were a bit shifty at the back. Whereas that side seemed to have a bit of everything. And yeah, it was a shame they never made Euro 92.
Yeah, I think we could have been really good. I mean, we should have qualified for that group.
And that wasn't a great tournament, from what I can remember.
Denmark won it, didn't they?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, and they were the side who were put in for Yugoslavia.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. So,
Yugoslavia had actually won the group, and because of the war there and the trouble there at the time, they couldn't participate. So Denmark took their place and won it. In fact, I mean, I know it would be politically impossible, but if you actually take a look at some of the side Yugoslavia had, and I mean, if you're taking the best of Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, I know it's a tinderbox, and God only knows the rivalry between the individual countries now. But I actually saw them at the 1990 World Cup as well. I saw them beat Spain in Verona, and they actually went out in penalties to Argentina. They could have won that World Cup. They had a really quality side as well. Played some fantastic football. I think it was Stojkovic got 2 goals that day. Brilliant, some brilliant players.
Gary, a lot of them got moves, didn't they, after that World Cup? I remember Dejan Savicevic went to AC Milan, and then was that too early for Boban?
What player?
Oh, Boban was, just Dragan Stojkovic, Darko Panchev, Prozanecki was in it, Robert Yarni.
Oh, Yanka, well done, Shay.
There we go. Alan Boksic, remember him?
Yeah, Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sukar. So, and they were, Sukar, Savicevic were 22, 23. Yarni was 21. Prozanecki was 21. Boksic was 20.
Shay done well there, didn't he?
Yeah, made it the target small for him.
Sorry, Will.
Now, again, just saying about that Yugoslavia squad, and then obviously it was split up, and a lot of the Croatia side came from that, but they were.
Well, those players back then were like so many of them. You've got Serbia, you've got Montenegro, you've got Croatia, and you kind of look at the players, you kind of mix them in, like even Vidic, Modric.
From Bosnia, some fantastic players.
What's that?
The Bosnian players, Pjanic, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, with the midfielder at Juve, he's a class player.
Yeah, no, that's him,
yeah.
And Dzeko.
Dzeko front,
Yeah, they had a serious side.
Go back to your first game, Paul, and that campaign. We did, right up to the very end, we did incredibly well in that campaign. I mean, we beat the Croatia, the bronze medalists from 98. We beat, I think they were still called Yugoslavia at the time. I know the republics, and forgive me for getting this all wrong, but the republics were breaking away at different times. But it was, Croatia were gone, but it was still Serbia, Montenegro at least, if not Macedonia, still there. Oh, sorry, of course Macedonia were separate as well. They were in the group. But anyway, they were still called Yugoslavia. We beat them in Dublin. Fantastic goal by Mark Kennedy. And we should have qualified. We got to the 92nd minute, had to beat a Macedonian team that were missing 8 players and gave away a desperately sickening equalizer. Probably still my worst moment, actually. My really sickest team watching us. I don't think I've ever felt so down and sick and so gutted coming out of a game as coming out of Skopje that night, because we absolutely blew it.
Not even Liechtenstein.
Not even Liechtenstein. No, Liechtenstein was a freak. It was just the other one that was really bad was Cyprus 06, the 5-2 defeat in Cyprus. That was a real low point as well.
Well, a real random point about that Liechtenstein game. Our local pub, which was attached to our nightclub down in Greystones, which is closed, as far as I can remember, used to have the goalkeeper gloves from the Liechtenstein keeper in a box on the wall. Why? Don't know, but
why not?
Maybe they're from Liechtenstein.
Who knows? I don't know. It's just really random. Just always remember the Peruche gloves.
Here, well, just on this game, like, how do you think it's in the 70th minute now? It's 1-0 to Germany. Noel Quinn's getting warmed up there. He's about to come on, and so Stephen Reid.
Yeah.
But a Bierhoff's coming on for them. But what I was going to say, basically, how do you think I think it's all Ireland right now.
Yeah. Well, I think Germany kind of almost realised their kind of their limits, and I think they were just happy enough to take it 1-0. Now that obviously gave us a bit more possession, maybe, and they thought they'll push forward and we can try and hit them, get a second on the break, and kill the game. But Ireland definitely been more creative and looking like they want to score. But
I'd say, Gary. Are you there, Gary?
Yeah.
What was the heat like in Japan?
Oh, in Japan in general, it was pretty hot. So I remember, and quite humid as well. So it was, even though that was at night, but still, if you're just wearing a football shirt and probably shorts. So it would have been tough enough going on the play. Now, nothing like something like Orlando 94, but still, it would have been tough on the players. It would have been warmer and more humid, certainly more humid than they would have been used
sticky.
to. Yeah, very sticky, very humid. And now, going around as a fan, it was actually lovely because the World Cup actually started quite early. The Cameroon game was the 1st of June. And because in Japan, they get very bad rainy season, kind of late June, early July. So I remember actually in Korea watching a game on TV. Can't be sure what game. I think it might have been England-Denmark, but I'm not sure. But there was a game on TV, and it was absolutely bucketing out of the heavens. And we didn't see kind of very little or any of that. So I think we were just kind of joking in the pub in Korea. We just got out of Japan in time. And I think the weather had got quite bad. And again, in Korea, it was actually lovely as well. Not as humid as Japan. There's nice win on Ian Hartoff, is it?
Gary Kelly off.
And Ian Hart.
Ian Hart for Stephen Reid. Yeah.
She's taking both fullbacks off. Finnan drops back.
Duff.
No, he went 3 at the back. So, but actually, at that stage, Mick decided to chase the game. And Germany was sitting back. They were playing us on the counter. And we were afraid they were going to get a second goal on the break. But we were kept pushing forward. So Nick decided to go 3 at the back and have a right go with them. And again, it was a bit of change of tactics, probably just a bit of variety as well. Instead of keeping the ball to feet and trying to use the trickery and skill of Robbie Keane and Damien Duff, it was the option of the long ball to Niall Quinn as well. Niall Quinn was decent enough with his feet as well.
You struggling with them earphones there?
Yeah, just haven't borrowed them from my daughter, so they're not.
We need to get you sponsored by Beats or something.
Okay.
Yeah, see, they're good on the counter. They're quick. Like, they're quicker than they look, the Germans, aren't they?
Yeah.
Gary Brain just pulled Yanker down there, got away with it.
Referee waves, play on.
Yeah, looking that might have been a free kick, all right.
Jim Beglin just saying they should book him for it, so he's obviously not convinced it's a free. Sorry, go on, Paul.
No, my thinking. Wait, you go ahead.
He trips over himself.
Yeah, it wasn't a free. Actually, if the ref was right, and looking the second time, it wasn't a free. He did trip over.
Oh,
That's the end of his night.
Yeah, Oliver Beer. I mean, if you think of it, I mean, Oliver Bierhoff was a far better striker than Karsten Jankel.
Yeah, it just might have been age, maybe.
Oh, complete age, yeah.
Yeah.
But then he'd almost be similar to Klose, as in Bierhoff was superb in the air. And a good kind of number 9, but not, you probably would go aerially to him. So it was was that too similar almost to have those two players up front.
Whose phone is that?
It's not mine.
Keeps going on. Mr. Popular, Gary Spain.
Maybe it's mine. Sorry. Yeah, that's.
See that with Quinn though? You just immediately he's off and he's just hustling and bustling and making a difference up there. I think he's an extremely intelligent footballer. He was.
Players just don't know how to. They never really found out a way to mark Niall, because he was always so kind of, obviously his height, but just the way he was able to spread himself when a ball came up. Players found it very difficult to kind of almost get around him. And he would almost frustrate players, annoy them. And then, Gary, as you mentioned as well, technically too, sometimes he maybe didn't get the credit he deserved.
Yeah, no, he was actually a lovely, because he was such a big man, I don't think he got the credit for how good he was on the ground,
Yeah.
And at the time, he was our leading goal scorer. He'd actually broken the record the previous
22
year.
goals, wasn't it?
Yeah, 21 goals, I think it was. It sounds nothing now when you look at Robbie and 68, but at the time, it was a pretty impressive total. And he was a great man to have as an option coming off the bench.
That was a terrible free kick.
Yeah. Robbie doesn't look too happy.
No, but he was the thing about him was, like, you look, okay, he missed that chance in the game. It's kind of getting late in the game, and he just kept going. I think that's always kind of showed in Keane's career. If you ever missed a chance, you never see him dwell on it. He's always on to the next one, and that's always a sign of the best strikers are like that. They're deadly in and around the box. But Robbie scored all types of goals, and we all know that. Like, if you wanted someone to step up and take a penalty in the last minute, he'd be your man. Or if you wanted, he could pop up with a moment of magic. I remember, Will won't like me saying, but he scored that goal, didn't he, for Spurs against Chelsea from the outside edge of the box. That was a great finish as well. He scores all types of goals.
Obviously wasn't very important.
Yeah, well, he did score a hat-trick, I think, against Everton, so that makes you feel any better. He was a brilliant, and Robbie's another one who doesn't get the credit. Duffer probably doesn't get the credit or recognition either. I mean, that World Cup, Duffer was as good as anybody.
I tell you now, from just my experience with Chelsea fans, he's one of the biggest regrets Chelsea fans have of a player being sold. He was absolutely loved at Stamford Bridge, and from what I know as well, wasn't that mad about moving on. There's other, I think, factors in play, but him and Robin were just electric together, which is strange when you talk about two left-footed fast wingers, but they complemented each other in a weird sort of way.
Yeah, and look, sorry, Gary, go on.
Was it? Well, yeah.
Sorry?
What?
The Chelsea team that won the league in 2006. Yeah.
Back-to-back leagues.
Yeah.
No, there would be 03, 04, 04, 05.
But yeah, it was a surprise. I think it was Newcastle he was sold to, which was a surprise,
Yeah, again, it was just because, again, reading from Damien's bit about him, he was at Blackburn, and he'd know, from what I know, he'd no real intention of going anywhere else. He was very, very happy with his life in Blackburn. He'd been there from, I think, a young age. And then, obviously, the Chelsea move came up, and it was kind of like, had a decision to make. Did he really want to go there? And I think in hindsight, he was delighted that he did take the move to go, because I think it would have been an easy step to take and stay at Blackburn for your whole career, but he blossomed into a new player. And after and obviously reached the heights of the Champions League and all that sort of stuff, and didn't look out of place in those games at all. Never forget the game against Barcelona with him and Robin at Stamford Bridge. Just electric.
There's quality.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a tough tackle there with Breen, was it?
Yeah, we've said it already, but Gary Breen was superb in that World Cup. He was keeping with Kenny Cunningham and Richard Dunn with the backups at centre back. That's how good Breen and Steve Staunton. I mean, Steve Staunton was earning his 100th cap that night. He was actually the first Irishman to get 100 caps.
And that was in a position that he wasn't known. He was a left back for a lot of his early days, you know.
He was.
Yeah, for most of his Irish career, he either played left back or the left side of midfield. Again, with Jack playing full backs and further forward. But he moved in towards the end of his days into centre half, and he really had a second coming or whatever, because he was really good again in that World Cup, and he was our man of the match in that game against Germany.
He read the game very well, and he had a good partnership with Gary. But I don't think Richard Dunn had really completely blossomed yet. I think it was a bit early for Rich. I think he kind of came into his own a couple of years later. And he
was early for Richard though, but he had in the qualifiers. I remember one in particular in Lisbon, and it's another shout out to Matty Holland as well, because people talk about his goal against Cameroon. We were away to Portugal, and we were absolutely given a total chasing. That Portuguese side was something else. They flopped in the World Cup, and I actually saw them over in Korea before the last game that went on. But they were brilliant in Lisbon. They were 1-0 up. Figo was out of this world. And Richard Dunn, he was playing because of injuries or whatever, but he was absolutely superb. And Matty Holland took a fantastic equalizer. I was behind the other goal, so maybe he wasn't as far out as I thought, but I thought he was about 30 yards out and into the top corner. Brilliant goal anyway, and it was an absolutely crucial point because we ended up drawing twice with Portugal, and then we had drawn in Amsterdam, and then it was a matter of, well, we only needed a draw against the Dutch.
Can't really hear you too well. Sound like you're underwater.
Sorry.
Here we go. Oh, Oliver Kahn again.
You sound like you're underwater, Gary.
Okay, I don't know what it is with my phone.
Just hanging around with SpongeBob down there, yeah.
Is this any better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Try and get a bit closer.
Oh, see, Oliver Kahn again, brilliant.
It's class. Into what, final 10 minutes now? Less?
Some
Yeah.
some sideburns. Is there a more iconic commentator than George Hamilton?
No.
Jimmy McGee, maybe?
No, George.
I think George as well. They were both great, but and George was there for so many of our big moments. I mean, yeah.
I don't know how George will be replaced.
He's class.
It's just superb. And the other thing about George, which I've always thought was, firstly, absolutely top guy, but the way he's able to do so many other sports as well. Like growing up, it was the voice of George Hamilton on this, on the Olympics, on, God, pretty much nearly every sport you can imagine George was commentating at. And he's still there.
Yeah, the ultimate professional.
Still going strong as well.
See Shea Given coming well out of goal there again. I mean, we're not under really any pressure. The Germans were sitting back and just trying to soak up the pressure at that stage.
Yeah, but we're getting caught on the counter. Like Schneider there just kicks out of play. But if he had it popped his head up and had a look, there was someone running through on goal there. It would have been 2-on-1.
I was thinking, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're bringing on the sub now. It looks like Jens Lehmann, but it's obviously not. Closest coming off.
Marco Boda?
Yeah, that's him, yeah. That lad Jonathan Foley is delighted that we mentioned his thing. He was
The screenplay.
That's the one. Yeah. He's been tagging us all over social media. So shout out Jonathan Foley. Fair play. Oh, Duff.
But just, I do remember now, at this time, watching the game, and there was pretty much silence. There was the odd, whatever, but the tension was just incredible.
I remember because we were obviously all watching it in school, and I think it was played around. I don't think it was played as early as you said, Will, because I think it was in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think that could be right because it was
Or
a
maybe
late
it
night.
wasn't.
Yeah, it was a late night game in Japan, so it would have been 8 or 9 hours ahead. So,
Well,
I mean,
we would have obviously been out in the yard playing football with all our classmates or whatever. So when we came back in, we knew that we were going to be watching Ireland in the World Cup. That was good play there by Kilbane. I didn't even give a foul for it. So that should have been a foul. But sorry, we'd all come in real excited about watching Ireland, and that normally would be very loud, and boys would be boys and so on. But I remember, as you said there, Will, it was just very, very quiet, very tense, and we missed a lot of chances as this goes on. You'll see, like obviously,
Yeah.
Duff's chance, Matt Holland's chance. Like we had our fair share of chances in this game.
There was a lot of feeling then. That was it. That was our chance.
And Quinn does well here.
Like this, yeah.
And tries to dink it.
yeah, he wasn't far away actually. Yeah.
He needed to be another 5 yards back. But should he have passed that there?
I think so, yeah. But that's in hindsight, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was Quinn there, I would have laced that, but I'm not a Quinn.
I'm sure you'll interview him one day, Paul, so you can say that to him.
Well, me and Gary, I think all three of us have interviewed him, or we've been on screen with Noel Quinn before, so there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary had an interview with him there at the League of Ireland launch.
Yeah, he's very generous with his time. I see Kenny Cunningham coming on there for Steve Staunton.
Yeah, but I think that was just maybe for legs in behind if Ethan came in. That's the only kind of logical thing I can get out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like for like, isn't it? So it's not like, as I say, it's just a bit of legs in behind. So if someone does get in, more than likely he'll get back and win the ball or whatever. As well, Kenny Cunningham went on to be like, a big player for us after this as well. He was captain
like
and
10 years or so, yeah.
Oh yeah, for many years. And I mean, yeah, it just shows the quality of the playing that we had on the bench that time.
yeah, you can see this every time Shea gets the ball now. He's looking to get it up the pitch. There's no real hanging around. And we're just, every time there's a second ball, we're just straight in on top of it. You just love to see it. Well in, Steve Finnan. He was quality that day as well.
Yeah, he was a quality player. I don't think he ever gets the recognition of how good he was, because I mean, he's not someone you see every week on the TV or the radio or anything, but he came in and did some job for us, and he was a class player.
So dependable. Dependable.
I'd love to know what he's doing now.
I don't know what he's doing now. That's another great save by Cant from Robbie, so close.
Ross Morrissey says, I remember Dunphy slating the Germans, especially Yanker, after the game. Giles and Jerry Armstrong were in the studio. Yeah, see, and this is why we do these types of things, because it brings people back, and it's like, I've really enjoyed this video regardless of the result. It's just nice to bring back memories and see what people were doing at that time, because obviously I didn't know either of you at that time, so it's nice to kind of hear where you were at that time of this moment, because globally it's watched by so many people,
Yeah.
Jens Jeremans.
He was a good player. But a lot, as I said, a lot of that team, I think that year or the year previous maybe, were playing with that Leverkusen team that got to the final. I remember Zidane scored that worldy. So these were not a bad side. Like, this is Champions League finals. Ballack was with them. Oliver Neuville, I think, is on the bench for Germany in this game. Was there as well. So they had like top quality players. It wasn't just an ordinary German team. And as we said earlier, no one else had scored against them except for Brazil in the final. Like,
They were mostly made up of Leverkusen and Bayern Munich players. They were the two. With the odd Dortmunds.
Who was Hamann playing for at that point? He wasn't at Liverpool then, was he? He was?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I can't remember where he was.
Look at this, playing out from the back with 90 minutes played. We're 1-0 down.
2020, isn't it?
What's that?
It's very 2020, playing out from the back. Get the goalkeeper involved.
But see, we're really going for it, and they're hanging on here. Like, and again, I go back to, you know, with big characters in that squad, and even in the, you know, even in on the bench with big characters. Lee Carsey was a big character, as well. Clinton Morris, you know, he's more of a funny character than anything else. But he was a decent player as well. But we had real. Sorry.
Jason McAteer on the bench as well. Plenty of experience. Second World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got injured in the Cameroon game. Actually, that's why I think he was out of this game through injury.
I think he got injured before that in a South Korea game or a friendly or something, and he was lying about it.
I don't think Jason was fully fit for the entire World Cup. I think he was on.
That's right, actually. Yeah, he was injured. It might have been the game the week before down in the south of Japan. We played some local team, and he got injured in that game.
That's the one.
He started against Cameroon, but he wasn't.
Wasn't 100%. Yeah.
Right, well, we're coming into the final minute and a half there, and you can see how desperate we are. We still believe, you know, at this point in the game, 91 minutes, we still believe we can get a goal. Steve Staunton, man of the match.
There we go.
And it falls to Robbie Keane! Yes! What a goal!
What a celebration.
Yeah.
Oh, you just love that, don't you? Look at Mick. Go on!
Gary, you're in there somewhere.
Absolutely. I'm in there somewhere. It was just chaos when that goal went in. It was just two limbs everywhere. Because I was just to the side. I was around the corner, kind of behind that at the goal where the goal at the end of the goal was scored.
Get in there, Keno.
Yeah.
But again, not a win. The importance of that.
And as well, the awareness of Niall Quinn to know where Keane was and where to put the ball there was. It doesn't get spoken about enough, I don't think.
And Mick's celebration.
And Robbie took the ball, he killed it on his chest, and then he went past the defender. Not sure the defender was there. It looked like he wasn't even there. And then a fantastic finish. Absolutely.
What was it like in the stadium, Gary?
Oh, it was mental. And the other thing, Paul, I don't think anyone is going to admit this, but there was loads of fans that left early, and they'll regret it, I'm sure, for the rest of their lives.
Why would you go to Japan and leave early?
Yeah, they went all the way 8,000 miles to Japan, and they were screaming out of the stadium. And I've yet to find anyone who'll admit it. But they were screaming out in front of us because we nearly had to stand up to watch the last couple of minutes. And
it's done.
That was class. Betzelda, he was good as well.
It was absolutely fantastic. It just went bananas. And the other thing, the goal was so crucial because had we lost, Cameroon and Germany were effectively going to go through because they could have drawn. Germany was through with a win, and Cameroon just needed to draw with Germany and beat Saudi, and they were through. So that goal, we would have been.
What is that noise, lads?
Yeah, it was absolutely crucial. And of course, the fact that we got the goal meant Germany.
Now you don't sound underwater anymore.
Great. The fact that we got the goal, Germany then had to beat Cameroon. So everything worked perfectly for us.
I missed that. Can you say it again, please?
Sorry, Paul. The fact that we got the goal kept Germany. Germany hadn't qualified, so they had to beat Cameroon.
Oh yeah, and we had to beat their score against Saudi Arabia, didn't we?
Yeah, so, well, we did, but that was only if Germany drew with Cameroon. But if either of them had won, we just had to beat Saudi.
Because I
And
remember
then-
going into that Saudi game. Do you remember there was a lot of talk about the Egypt game in 1990 and what Saudi Arabia would do just to try and get some respect going home and take a draw, put 10 men behind the ball. But now it played them off the park.
Yeah, we were very good that night. And Saudi, they weren't a great side. I mean, if you actually think back, and I know this because I was planning to go to the playoff, once we beat Holland, we were guaranteed a playoff against the third Asian side. And I was absolutely anal the way I was studying the groups. But Iran looked set to qualify and Saudi looked set to be in the playoff. And Iran was surprisingly beaten by Bahrain. But Iran actually gave us a far tougher game in the playoff than Saudi did in the World Cup. They didn't look a great side.
That's right. That was Ali Dai, wasn't it? Big centre forward. He was at Hertha Berlin at the time.
Yeah, and Ali Karimi in midfield was a lovely player as well. Yeah, they actually had some decent players and they gave us a good game. We were looking to win 2-0 in Dublin. Shea Given made a great save. I think it's 0-0 and we got the breakthrough. I think it was Ian Hart with a penalty. I'm trying to remember now. It's 19 years ago, but yeah, we were under a cosh a bit in Dublin. Got a good 2-0 win. Probably a little fortunate. They had good chances to get a goal back even at 2-0 as well. Another Shea Given save, if I remember rightly. But and then we just held on out there. It was comfortable enough out there, though we gave away a goal at the very end. But Saudi, we just blew them away in Yokohama. We were much the better side, beat them 3-0. And we knew at that stage as well, because the following day to this Germany game, Cameroon only beat Saudi 1-0. It was a dreadful game, but it was great for us. And the fact that we were hoping they wouldn't win at all, but the fact that they only won 1-0 meant a 2-0 win would have guaranteed us a place in the next round. And we beat them 3-0. It was never really in doubt.
Yeah.
And that's where Duff's famous bow.
Yeah,
that time, wasn't it?
Robbie scored again as well, his second goal. I think the confidence of that goal, he certainly took it into the Saudi match. And Gary Breen chipped in with the third one, wasn't it?
Yeah, we knew we could relax then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose.
Germany were beating Cameroon anyway. I think they beat 3-0 again.
Yeah, well, we have the Sweden game and the France game from the Euros. So if you want to do that one of the nights, we can. We have both of them.
Should actually, do you know, it'd be great if we could the Spain game from this World Cup.
I'll ask Killian for it. Or Greg, sorry, isn't it?
I remember that. That was it was an interesting game almost to watch again. There you go, 58%.
Yeah. Against Germany in a World Cup, you know.
Bill O'Hurley, God bless him.
Yeah.
Shufty.
He was a great man as well.
Did you ever meet him, Gary?
No, I never met him. You know, I saw him a couple of times from me, but I never actually got to meet him. You know, it was.
I met Bill actually very early on when I was starting out, and got some great advice off him. Lovely man to talk to. Took some time. Just an absolute genuine bloke, and what a presenter. The hallmark, the standard.
Yeah.
That's what I aim for.
I don't actually remember Jerry Armstrong. Obviously, he was there. I can see him there now. I don't remember him being in the studio much for RT.
But you were in Japan, so you wouldn't really be watching.
I was in Japan, but I had recorded these games and I watched. I kind of went through them when I got back. I didn't sit down and watch them all in full. But I suppose when I came back as well, the World Cup was still going on. So I was back into work and trying to watch the games in the morning and everything.
Yeah, well, lads, what I'll do is I'll get on to you and see if we can get the Spain game. But I think we'll leave it there. That was obviously a great rewatch. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments as well. Don't forget to follow the lads. You can see their social media handles are underneath them as well. Huge thanks to the lads for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Right.